Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. I'd ask you to hit the like button, subscribe, and consider donating to the channel. Let's jump into it. The WBO has now dropped Jaron Ennis. For all of you out there who are hoping to see Jaron Ennis and Terrence Crawford mix it up, y'all can forget about it. They gave him the boot. We all know Jaron Ennis is over there assigned to the IBF now that he's picked up that interim title. So Jaron Boots Ennis is totally off of the WBO radar. What does that mean for Terrence Crawford? Nothing, except Jaron Boots Ennis isn't a fight that's going to get made for Terrence Crawford. That does mean that Jaron Boots Ennis is being pushed towards Errol Spence. Now, if Errol Spence can hold his position as a unified champion, then that's a fight we can see happening. If not, then may see Keith Thurman in that position. But as of right now, we have no idea what's going to happen. We know Jaron Ennis and Villa. Villa is the individual that clipped Rashidi Wallace. Jaron Boots Ennis and Villa are supposed to be fighting. So the winner of that will emerge and go on to fight next, probably for a bout with Errol Spence. But more to come. We'll see what develops with him. But the real question is this. What does this mean for Bud Crawford? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Something interesting here. Virgil Ortiz Jr., right? He's supposed to be fighting Stan Ennis. That's over there for the WBA title, right? But something odd is going on. Now, we know Amantis Stan Ennis having his appendix, surgery on his appendix, man. The man had appendicitis, man, so he had to go through surgery. We know Virgil Ortiz is kind of in a holding pattern. But, you know, his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, he won the purse bid. So Virgil Ortiz, you would think, would be locked in to waiting for Stan Ennis and then fighting him whenever Stan Ennis is ready. But that could be, 3-4 months down the line. We just don't know. These guys that say Stan Ennis, it'll only take a couple months, he'll be ready. We don't know. You know what I'm saying? It could take more. You just don't know how he's going to heal. Nobody can predict the future. But just as far as the timeline, they're saying 2 months, but I think it may be more like 4 to 6 months. So what does that mean for Virgil Ortiz? Well, he may have to fight an opponent, someone to fight in the interim. So you look at what the WBO did. The number one ranked remains Virgil Ortiz. We thought Ortiz would drop from the rankings as well and go over to the WBA. But he's still languishing there in the number one position. And he's the WBO international champion. What the hell is an international champion? They just gave him this distinction. Let me tell you something. They may be trying to make Crawford versus Virgil Ortiz. That may be Crawford's mandatory because Ortiz and Stan Ennis can't get it on for several months. And it's like my boy Mills, right? Let me tell y'all something, right? When it comes to boxing, I have a friend, right? He goes by MD Mills 79. Y'all need to follow him on Instagram. He and I keep each other on our toes with what's going on with these sanctioning bodies, what's going on with these champions, and we try our best to, critically analyze and to predict future fights and kind of where the who's going to probably end up in position to fight for the titles, right? And we've been doing pretty good, but he hit me up today and told me, hey, you need to take a look at this. But we both can't figure out this international distinction on Virgil Ortiz. But what he said, and I agree with MD Mills 79 on Instagram. You need to go follow him, right? What I agree is Oscar De La Hoya, him, Terrence Crawford, they need to be talking. They need to be talking and they need to be pushing to have some kind of sit down, man, and to try to make the fight between Virgil Ortiz and Terrence Crawford. That is what needs to happen right now. All right? Because if they don't do it, then Terrence Crawford is going to be sitting there, and he's not going to be able to fight Keith Thurman, especially if Terrence Crawford is looking to get back in the ring by April. Okay? Keith Thurman will be the next in line, but he's fighting Spence around the same time that Crawford's looking to return to the ring. So the next person after that, the NABO champion, right? Alexis Rocha. Now, I've been saying this for months. And some other people, man, you know, it is what it is. I'll just leave it as that. I've been saying it for months. So what you're going to see happening is kind of like we predicted. And my buddy Mills and I have been sitting there going back and forth. We predicted that Rocha could be next up for Crawford. And the way this is looking, people, that's what you're going to get. Now, Cody Crowley is supposed to fight in February to fight for the mandatory position for the WBC. So Cody Crowley, I would think that he wouldn't be next up. Now, someone told me today that Alexis Rocha is fighting in February. I don't have any information on that. I need to look that up. But put it to you this way, right? It looks like it could be Alexis Rocha next for Crawford. But if we take the hearsay, this is what it could really be. Virgil Ortiz doesn't fight Crawford. Let's say it works out to where he's got to stick over there with the WBA and fight Stanley Ennis. They don't want to risk him getting in there with Crawford and losing, getting hurt or something, and now that totally messes up the fight with Stanley Ennis because now he's injured and he won't be ready to fight by the time Stanley Ennis heals. So let's say they say, okay, we want to keep Virgil Ortiz safe, set him aside. Keith Thurman, we know he's not going to be on the radar because he has to fight Spence. Let's say Alexis Rocha really does have a fight scheduled in Feb against someone else. That means Alexis Rocha is off the table. Cody Crowley, we already know he has a fight scheduled in February against someone to become the WBC mandatory. He's off the table. Then you got two names left. Giovanni Santillan. Who knows who that is? Not many people. And then you have my favorite fighter in the world, Blair the Flair Cobb. I've been telling you all. Blair Cobb. Don't be surprised. I was saying Alexis Rocha and Blair Cobb. But the way it's looking, don't be surprised, boy, if Blair Cobb ends up going to a fight with Terrence Crawford. I know people are going to kill Terrence Crawford if he takes that fight. I'm over here laughing right now. But I'm telling you, it's not Terrence Crawford's fault. Because you guys know what happened here, right? The other sanctioning bodies, they're doing what they have to do to take care of their pockets. And you look at Virgil Ortiz, not quite sure what's going to happen, but, for the most part, he should be over at the WBA because he's fighting Stanley Ennis. Boots Ennis. You look at Cody Crowley. You look at the guy, Karen Chikazian, right? You look at Keith Thurman. A lot of these big names, they've been pretty much, for the most part, given assignments. And their assignments are outside of the WBO. So Terrence Crawford really isn't left with a big name opponent for his mandatory defense. And I'm telling you, fans aren't going to like this, but it's not his fault. No one's going to want to understand that because most of the fans who come out here and insult him and insult Spence, they don't really study this like some of us do. They just see it's not the person they want to fight. They want to see in the ring with Terrence Crawford, not the person they want to see in the ring with Earl Spence. So they just go on the attack and rake these guys across the coals. Now, something else that could be interesting, when you get past the number 6 Blair Cobb, Rashidi Ellis is still number 7. I mean, Rashidi Ellis may get a shot at Terrence Crawford. I doubt it. I don't think he's stupid enough to go in there with Terrence Crawford, but he may. And then you got Keita Obara. I doubt he gets it. Then Jordanis Julius. Now, that's a name we all know. So at the end of the day, when you look at it, we're going to have to see what happens with Virgil Ortiz. But if I was Crawford and I want to get fans off of my back, I'd be pushing for that Virgil Ortiz fight. I would. And like my boy Mills was saying, that's what needs to happen right now. Crawford needs to be over there with De La Hoya, and he needs to be forcing a sit-down, trying to have a discussion. because this is the opportunity right here. I'm sure there will be an allowance for Terrence Crawford and Ortiz to fight, because Ortiz is just basically sitting there on the sidelines waiting on standing units. I have no doubt about that. But then again, it could mess up with De La Hoya and his purse bid and everything, so not sure how that would work. But it could be a way to get his boy Ortiz, 2 paydays, a payday against Crawford, and then, come back and he goes into a fight within a couple months and fights Stan Eunice. So it could kind of do what Terrence Crawford kind of had planned, where he went, took the Venetian fight, and then was still planning to roll in there with Earl Spence. But we don't know. But again, look at these names. The number one, Virgil Ortiz. He may be busy with the WBA, or he could work something out with Crawford. Number 2, Keith Thurman. He's busy over there with Earl Spence. I just don't think he's going to be available for Crawford. Alexis Rocha, he's supposed to be fighting in February. I don't know who, but someone told me that today. I need to confirm that. But if it is not true, Alexis Rocha is probably going to be the guy. Cody Crowley, I know for a fact he has a fight scheduled in February. Giovanni Santillan, don't know much about what he's doing. Blair Cobb is available. Rashidi Ellis just lost. I don't think his team will want to put him in with Crawford. Keita Obara, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know nothing about that person. Your Danish Yugas, by now his eye should be healing up. The double vision should have resolved itself. He may be available. So that's realistically what Crawford is looking at. So I'm thinking it's Rocha or Blair Cobb. It's really what I'm thinking. But what I would like to see, Crawford push for that Virgil Ortiz fight. And I think that is a fight that will be very interesting, and I don't think Crawford is guaranteed to win that fight. That fight is a hard fight for Crawford, and it's a hard fight for Virgil Ortiz, because Ortiz doesn't dance around. He's kind of flat-footed, cutting the ring off, letting shots go. And Terrence Crawford is a boxer-puncher. So he'll jab, he'll fight, he'll move, he won't stand there. But if Terrence Crawford decides to stand there and trade shots, that's where Virgil Ortiz could have the most success. But I just don't think Crawford's going to give him those opportunities if they can make the fight. Crawford against Alexis Rocha, that's a tough fight. Got to favor Crawford, but that Alexis Rocha, that loss to Rashidi Ellis, this isn't the same Alexis Rocha. He's gotten better, he's improved, and I think that would be a good matchup for Terrence Crawford. And then Blair Cobb, to me, he's the people's champion, and that would be an entertaining fight because there's some history there. Remember, Blair Cobb went in there and knocked off Terrence Crawford's stablemate. The guy from Dallas, Texas, man, I can never remember his name, but it was a good fight, but Blair Cobb handled his business. But that being said, more to come on what's going to happen with Terrence Crawford and who he's going to fight. But as of right now, Jaron Ennis is no longer part of the WBO ranking. They dropped him, and he's now over there as with the interim title with the IBF. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans. Hit that thank button. Hit the subscribe button. Consider donating. I'd appreciate it. And I'm in the breeze.